Saying, "let freedom ring," can sound trite, with many different interpretations depending on the listener and the agenda of the listener. However, freedom is extremely valuable, and if it's taken away, it becomes even more valuable. Our country has had many patriots who fought long and hard for our freedoms. Sure, America has faced its share of mistakes through the centuries, but the founders demonstrated such wisdom in crafting declarations that provided freedom and included checks and balances to protect our freedoms. So we need to continue to fight hard to protect our history and our freedom. So stay tuned and let freedom ring.
This podcast is brought to you by DJ Works Media with resources and ideas for you at mid-career or halftime of life. Check out our online courses where we want you to not only start, but finish. Books available in all versions and songs available for immediate download with sheet music and instrumental accompaniment tracks. Our musicals are family-friendly with great music that's memorable and inspiring. Sign up at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter for weekly updates. Now to our episode.
Our freedoms in this country are extremely valuable, and that value increases when you realize freedom is no longer there. John Adams, one of the signers of our Declaration of Independence in 1776, he wrote to his wife, "I am well aware of the toil and the blood and treasure that it will cost us to maintain this declaration." Well, there is a cost to maintain our freedoms. And we have recently seen billionaires pay great amounts of money to protect some of those rights, such as free speech. Free speech is not a right in many countries all around the world. But with that free speech comes messages that may or may not align with history. So my encouragement is for us to revisit history with some of our unalienable rights and freedoms, to review how those privileges came to be and how and when they were established. This is especially relevant as this podcast is released right around our day of independence. Many of our rights were shaped by a biblical influence, as courts existed for the purpose of securing justice. Thus, the saying in our Pledge of Allegiance, "with liberty and justice for all," it was an outflow of that influence. In fact, European settlers first came to America seeking religious and economic freedom, and they fought hard, shedding much blood and giving many lives to break free of the British rule of heavy taxation and governance. After the signing of the Constitution on September 17th, 1787, which established how a government should run, that was the Constitution, there was a movement in favor of a Bill of Rights. Now, this Bill of Rights limited the power of the central government, protecting the rights of the individual and the states. Well, there are so many areas we can cover in a podcast like this about our freedoms, but we're going to focus here on just a few of those areas as we are reminded of the rich legacy and privileges that we enjoy that were fought hard and longed for. So, one will be the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to our Constitution, and they were ratified or made legally binding on December 15, 1791. Now, these rights are not just America's proclamation of liberties from government power, but they have become a symbol of freedom to the world. And it's not a long document, but it's very specific at only 468 words. And included are the freedom of religion, to bear arms, for private property, due process of law, jury trial, prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment, origin of rights directly from God, and limited powers. And included in the article is a free download of the Bill of Rights. I've included that in the article that comes with this podcast with their original language. So get that download. It's completely free. America did not become the world's greatest superpower just by accident, nor did it gain freedom for its citizens without the commitment of men that put all on the line to make sacrifices for that freedom. Many men sacrificed their property, their wealth, and even their lives. And it was a price they paid for our freedoms. And they knew what they sacrificed would have far-reaching tentacles for the establishment of a country based on solid principles. So let's move on to our American flag. I grew up in classrooms that began every school day saluting our flag with our hands over our hearts, citing the Pledge of Allegiance. And it was a rote exercise at that stage of my life, but it's become such a fond memory now, as today, most classrooms no longer salute the flag, that it has become a symbol of our freedoms and independence for our country for centuries. A flag represents the identity of a nation or a culture, symbolizing its history, its values, and its unity. The first official national flag, known as the Stars and Stripes, it was authorized by the Continental Congress on June 14, 1777. And flags are powerful symbols of freedom, of democracy, and resilience. And they play a crucial role in official ceremonies and events, such as inaugurations, diplomatic functions, and sporting events. Now, our American flag is also used to honor those who served our country, such as former military. When a soldier is laid to rest, the American flag is draped on their coffin, and then the family is presented a folded flag during their funeral honors. Now, we have one of those folded flags in our home from a family member who served our country, and it is a prized possession. Well, now let's talk about the Liberty Bell and the Statue of Liberty, and these are landmarks in our country. On July 8, 1776, 4 days after the approved Declaration of Independence, the famous bell, now hanging in the tower of Philadelphia's Independence Hall, it rang. And it rang to call citizens to assemble together outside the State House for a special announcement. And this is when at that time, the new Declaration of Independence, it was read aloud by Colonel John Nixon to the crowd that gathered. And it's called the Liberty Bell because of the biblical inscription from Leviticus 25:10. And that's emblazed around it. It says, "Proclaim liberty throughout the land until all the inhabitants thereof." Well, as the Civil War was ending in 1865, French statesman Edouard de Leloulet, I think I said that right, proposed a statue as a gift from France to the United States to commemorate the two nations' friendship and shared concepts of liberty. Now, the statue depicts a robed female figure representing Libertas, the ancient Roman goddess of freedom, holding a torch of light raised high in her right hand for all to see. Now, she's 305 feet tall, and in her left hand is a tablet with the engraving July 4th, 1776. Her crown's 7 rays or spikes projecting from her head represent reaching all seas and continents. And on her right foot is a broken chain of shackles that she's about to step over. She was dedicated on October 28, 1886. And approximately 4.44 million people visit that Statue of Liberty every year, making it one of the most famous tourist attractions in New York. And I encourage you to make that trip as well. Well, let's talk about some other monuments. Monuments and national symbols of a nation reflect the heart of the people and identify many of their beliefs. And America's monuments and symbols aren't a record of nations conquered or military encounters. Rather, our monuments contain the declaration that is the source of our birth, our freedoms, and the greatness of God. Within the Library of Congress is the Gutenberg Bible and a hand-copied giant Bible of Maids. And many biblical inscriptions can be found on the ceilings and on the walls. On the outside of the Supreme Court is a marble relief of Moses holding the Ten Commandments. The Capitol building includes 8 large paintings in the rotunda representing aspects of our Christian history. In God we trust is inscribed boldly in letters behind the speaker's podium in the House chamber. Also above the central gallery door is a marble relief of Moses. Statues of many early leaders are displayed throughout the Capitol. The National Archives, the Washington Monument, the White House, the Lincoln Memorial, and the Jefferson Memorial, they all include inscriptions, including prayers, scripture, and statements of freedom and independence. This is what those settlers came over from Britain to fight hard for. They wanted their freedoms. And this is history that cannot be erased or changed. America has it's faced its share of mistakes through the centuries, but the founders demonstrated such wisdom in crafting a declaration that provided freedom and included checks and balances to protect our freedoms. And we need to continue to fight hard to protect those freedoms and to let freedom reign. So how do we apply this? I encourage you to check out some of the resources and articles listed in the article that comes with this podcast, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. You can get all of those, but you can also go on the website. The link will be in the show notes. And I've included a wonderful interview with Tom Hand. And he made the decision to answer this question, what's next in his life, by starting a nonprofit. It's called Americana Corner, and its focus is to produce videos, books, and articles of historical content, leaving a legacy that is educational and inspirational, and his materials are so well done. I hope you check those out. His actions demonstrate a wonderful example of what is possible for anyone at mid-career or the halftime of life. So I encourage you, don't wait and put off to tomorrow what you really can start today. Celebrate our freedoms with a decision to live with significance and purpose, with gratefulness, especially for those who came before us to fight hard for what we enjoy today. And I'm also leaving you a couple resources for great books with this podcast. Link in with the article, you will get the direct link. Here is the book by Tom Hand, wonderful book. We are going to give this, my husband and I, to each one of our sons for Father's Day this year. The American Triumph, very short chapters and illustrated incredibly well. It's very reasonable to buy on Amazon. I will have that link. It's a beautiful, beautiful book in hardbound. I encourage you to check that out and to read our history. It's accurate. What's in this book is accurate. I've also been referring a lot to a book. This is a very thick, big book, but I have loved it. It's called The Founder's Bible, and it is a Bible, but it has so many wonderful illustrations and a lot of true history within it. I'm going to hold it up for the video. Hopefully you can see a little bit of it, but it's beautifully done. And it's a wonderful book. You can order, I will put the link to that. It's not usually on Amazon, it's on another source, but you can order that and have that shipped directly to you. But make sure that you check out some of these resources and listen carefully to the true history of our nation. There are those that are trying to kind of change it around or take away some of those freedoms, but those were fought long and hard for. And I just really want to encourage us this year to take a step back. And also, if you are at mid-career, halftime of life, to decide what you're going to do next. Of course, I have a wonderful course, Hero Mountain Summit, heromountainsummit.com. I only open that up twice a year, but it's kind of a mentorship guidance. I help you in a lot of different areas. It's totally online. And anywhere in the world, you can sign up for that. It's 5 months. So I don't do a lot of coaching, private coaching, but this is the way I can have a greater impact in people all over the world. So I encourage you to check that out, some of the other resources, but get also on our newsletter, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. It has been such a pleasure producing this particular podcast because I believe in those that are in our country that are fighting hard for our freedom. And I just really want to support them. And we don't want that to go away. All you need to do is go somewhere where you don't have it. They'll cut off your head if you say something wrong. You won't be around to enjoy freedoms. So I just encourage you to also encourage those around you to revisit history. Unless you revisit and know history, you're liable to repeat a lot of those mistakes, of course. So thanks again for joining me. I look forward to being with you at least once a week. I put in a lot of bonus podcasts right now, so make sure that you click in on follow and click in on every single one. And thanks again for being with me today, and I'll look forward to being with you again next time. So bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.